true OG in the YouTube game, Callum McGinley, or better known online as Callux, created his channel in 2012 and quickly rose in the UK scene, frequently making videos with other UK YouTubers such as Syndicate, Calfreezy and all of the sidemen lads. He was known for his public interaction videos and quite awful upload schedule. I mean, seriously, Callux, I know your videos bang, but just make like a stinker second channel or something. But how did this awkwardly confident guy go from dressing up in public to making $350,000 in just 5 minutes? Well, in typical video essay fashion, let's go all the way back. Firstly, Callux did not grow up rich, and in fact, in his words, he grew up very poor in a housing estate in East London. In the Happy Hour podcast, he talked about how his mum couldn't afford a working house phone, and that his dad was in and out of his life for most of his childhood. When he was just 4 years old, Callux was diagnosed with childhood leukemia. He remembers waking up early one morning being covered in blood and having to be rushed to hospital, where he had to have multiple blood transfusions. This illness, and of course the treatment that followed, impacted his early years quite heavily. He missed much of the beginning years of school, being year 1 and year 2, and he had to have frequent lumbar punctures. Now, just think of how that might affect a young child. However, he believes that beating cancer for many years following gave him a positive attitude of, alright, we've done that, we've beat that, what's next? Now, growing up poor had its challenges for Callux and his mum. They researched free boarding schools for him to join, as they obviously didn't have the money to pay for a school. While researching, they found out that by joining a group, who I believe he was describing the Guild of the Freemen, that they would cover the expenses of the boarding school, although he may have also joined a cult, so who knows at this point. He believes that this problem-solving ability has carried him through many aspects of his life, helping him solve issues ranging from that boarding school issue all the way to his businesses. And speaking of businesses, in 2016, Callux founded a video production company called After Party Studios with director Ben, also known as Rubber Duck, and Richard Mansell. The company has done absolute bits over the years with notable productions and partnerships, such as the KSI Can't Lose documentary, the Stephen Tries mini Netflix series, the Movember Man-to-Man series, which, by the way, I absolutely loved, the Sidemen Tops overnight celeb video, and, of course, every single No Two Ways advert to date, which we'll talk about in a minute. The quality of these videos show the amazing level of detail Callux and his company put into their creations, and even before the launch of No Two Ways, showed that Callux was much more than just a content creator, but a businessman and a CEO. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty of everything, let's quickly talk about his content creation journey thus far. Callux began his YouTube rise mainly through his public interaction videos. He would frequently collab with other YouTubers and take to the streets of London to film dumb interactions with the public. Now, I want you all to cast your mind back to 2012, okay? Millions of people tune in to watch the Olympic Games hosted at the London Stadium. Barack Obama is re-elected for his second term. Gangnam Style is on its way to become the most YouTube video ever, and most prank videos weren't fake yet. It was a golden era for YouTube, and Callux was well and truly in the midst of it. He not only had public interactions on his channel, but he also frequently made prank videos for and with other channels. His awkward humour and seeming lack of social anxiety allowed him to gain more and more subscribers, eventually reaching a current total of over 4 million. Callux always stood out to me as being one of the early YouTube professionals. And what I mean by that is, he always was great at noticing the trends early and following them until the next one came along. Now, this was a great skill to have at the time, and still is in a way, although the trends at the moment are slightly harder to follow thanks to Mr. Beast. Callux's passion for filmmaking was clear throughout the years, and of course followed into his production company we talked about earlier. So, with this all said and done, why am I here once again completely brown-nosing another YouTuber? Well, shoes. Having been featured in the likes of Hypebeast, Culted, Nice Kicks and StockX, No Two Ways was a clear standout right from the moment it launched. Now, Callux did release a video called How I Made $350,000 in 259 seconds, and I encourage you all to go check it out. However, I will try and quickly sum up some of the points made, just to show how this brand was conceived and brought to life. Firstly, there are two main minds behind the brand. One, of course, being Callux, and the other being a man called Rockwell Princely, known as Rocky, a design graduate from the London College of Fashion. Callux went to Rocky with certain expectations about his vision for the brand, two of which being an initial budget of £30,000 and a time frame for the first release of just 4 months. Rocky was quick to bring down those expectations a little bit and explain that they weren't really viable to actually achieve any form of success. Once this was done, it was time to devise their USPs, or unique selling points. The main ones stated by Callux as getting a price point that accurately matches their brand image so as to find their range within luxury and high street prices. Having top quality products and achieving a level of complexity within the design of the sneakers that set them apart from other brands. Throughout the whole design process, there was one big subject that was kept in mind, and that was trends. Remember earlier in the video when I mentioned that Callux had been able to ride and adjust the trends throughout the whole YouTube lifespan? Well, this was exactly the same. They had to make sure that in order to achieve any level of success, that they were actually giving people what they wanted. Imagine seeing and knowing that everyone wants a comfortable running shoe with soft soles and deciding to make the soles out of sandpaper. It's stupid. They had to follow the current trends of the sneaker sphere while standing out from the crowd and breaking from the mould of typical YouTuber merch. Once all the back end and design work was done, the prototype started to get made. It was a fun process of prototype made, adjusted, prototype 2 made, adjusted, prototype 3 made, you get the idea. Next was marketing. Now this, to me, is where Callux once again could shine. All of the adverts and photo shoots were done by Afterparty Studios, and if you go to their website or their social medias and take a look at all of the things they've done for No Two Ways, I mean, they did not pull their punches one bit. All of the shots look incredible, and the films look great, and as they've gained in popularity, the shoots have only increased and increased and increased, not only in quality, but in creativity. But now we need to get to the part that everyone focuses on: money. Callux and Rocky initially had 750 units made. That's 750 pairs of shoes. Cal says that he was unsure on if those 750 would even sell. Two people, Cal and Rocky, worked for 5 weeks, 13 hours a day, for 7 days a week in the lead up to this drop, and it was now time to go live. 1 second passes. 2 seconds pass. 3 seconds pass. In that moment, the world slows down. You're not feeling, you're not thinking, you're just waiting. And in 63 seconds, it took just over a minute for all 750 units to sell out. But that's not where the story ends. Let's fast forward to the second drop. They were a bit more confident this time. They knew that they had an audience around it. They knew that people were waiting and people wanted to get in on this opportunity. So they ordered 2,100 units this time. And it only took 186 seconds and fully sold out once again. Cal and Rocky succeeded because they did things right and they continue to do things right. They have a good product with good photos, good adverts, and they were innovators. No other YouTubers had stepped into this territory before, and all of these things together propelled No Two Ways into the instant success that we know it as. It cost Callux an investment of almost the whole £350,000 just to do the first 2 drops, and just to really nail that point home, it was a solo investment. He had no money from other people, he had no venture capitalist, he had no investment, only his own money. But they were already profitable in the first year of business, which is very rare for a brand of this nature. In my opinion, Callux has always been an underrated force in the YouTube scene, and his thoughts on business and creativity have actually been really interesting to hear while I was researching this video. He's managed to create multiple successful brands and has broken down the ideas of typical YouTuber merch, creating a full independent brand that can be recognized even without knowing who Callux is. Now, if you like this video, by the way, you might want to check out this one about how one word created a multi-million-pound brand, so you can check that out if you want to. But as always, if you want to check out the people and the things that I've mentioned, I'll leave as many links as possible in the description below. So you tell me, do you own any sneakers from No Two Ways? What do you think of them? Do you know of any other content creators who are smashing it in other areas of business or other areas in general? Leave them in the comments below and I might make a video on them. And last but certainly not least, please can I have a free pair of No Two Ways? Please.